What's up to Lion Talk Live, sir? We love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Hey, it is Saturday. It is the morning show. It is, Lions Talk Live, and we've got a little bit of news that you can see from today's thumbnail. This is going to be a tough one for me to talk about for multiple reasons. We'll get into that during it, but a national, worldwide, maybe we could say, company who is prominent in the football world maybe showed a whole lot of disrespect towards the Detroit Lions yesterday. There is some content I wanted to put up on the show, but I already got notifications that, hey, that's a no-fly zone per the company. They invoked their rights on a bunch of different news agencies that use some of their materials while reporting this story yesterday. Also, to be fair, this may not be a story for everybody who watches it, but if you're a Detroit Lions fan, I'll even say if you're in your, say, 60s or below, you probably know this company. And this company, we'll get into the main topic of the day, give you guys a little bit of a teaser about it. But if you're a Detroit Lions fan, you've probably lived with this company for most of your life. You probably understand it's about that. In about, I think, 4 weeks from now, this company releases something that is worldwide known, especially here in the States, recognized, and in many situations considered the Bible. I used to do some work for this company in regards to their rating systems for different players. And while some of you know who Donnie Moore is, some of you won't. We'll dive into all that during the main topic of the day. Before we get into that, before we get into the 5 headlines now, we will have a special guest today, backed by popular demand, and glad that we were able to finally connect. So we'll have that surprise for you at the bottom of the hour, halfway through the show. Before we get into all that, though, you guys know the drill. If you haven't yet subscribed, Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so, making that march for 13,900 subs. And we're keeping on going, trying to get there before training camp opens up for the team. Also, if you have a half second of time, it doesn't cost a dime. Reach on down, hit that thumbs up button, that like button, hit all the buttons, help the channel out. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Last but most certainly never least, if you are looking for something to read, maybe you've got an eye for historically accurate content or fictional books that maybe the characters within it aren't exactly known to be real, but the events are, go over to Amazon.com, order yourself a copy of Kajora book. It is the first in a 9-part series. The second book is releasing later this year. So if you like Japanese culture, Native American culture, and everything in between, go ahead and give it a check out. If you like it, leave a kind review. All right, all that done, set out of the way. Let's get the show rocking and rolling and going and getting kicked off with, if I can find the button, 5 headlines now. All right, 5 glorious headlines coming at you, and here we go. Lions rookie predictions will prove Brad Holmes nailed it once again in the NFL draft. Sideline report, Mike Luciano with this one. You're going to get inundated with this as we get closer and closer to the start of the NFL season. People are going to put it out about every NFL team, every rookie, and I get it. The nice thing about the NFL is with the draft, with free agency, every team's going through it right now. Hope springs eternal. Every pick was the absolute slam dunk greatest pick ever. Every free agent signing, that's the one that's going to take us to the championship. It's one of the things I actually like about the NFL. All right, Luciano gives his thoughts on the Detroit Lions draft class. Let's dive into it. Tyleik Williams, he's predicting 25 tackles, 2 sacks. I'm going to guess most of us would be pretty happy with that if that does hold up. Me, myself, and I'm hoping he gets a little bit more stats. But by 25 tackles, 2 sacks, I'm guessing that also means Aleem McNeil and other players come back, get into the rotation, which means you have less reps or snaps for Tyleik Williams. Second round pick, let's see, Tate the Great Ratledge, 17 starts, 70 overall pro football focus grade. And you know what? I'd say if this holds water, and he does have him being the center for the Detroit Lions, replacing Frank Ragnow, that's a pretty good freshman year for Ratledge. Third round pick, Isaac Tesla, 20 catches, 375 yards, 4 touchdowns. I'd be all right with that because my anticipation is he's probably not going to see a whole lot of field time unless something unforeseen happens to one of the first 3 guys until maybe the middle of the year. At least that's my thoughts. Maybe something happens where he supersedes expectations, but we get it. He's 6'4". He's got a lot of speed. He loves the run block. There's a lot of upside to this kid, but I've said it a gajillion times on this show. Even 2 of the greatest Lions wide receivers ever as rookies didn't put up stats, much higher than this. Herman Moore, I'm going off memory here, so don't hold me to it. I want to say he had about 30 catches. Kelvin Johnson was in the 30 to 40 range, so I get that. All right, 5th round pick, Miles Frazier, 2 starts, 65 pro football focus grade, and I get it with offensive linemen. The stats really aren't sexy, so you do got to go with something like the pro football focus grade, but it wouldn't be bad at all. All right, here's probably the big one that most of us are going to be chomping at the bit to see this guy in the preseason games, and thankfully there's 4 this year, so you're going to be able to see him just a little bit more. Ahmed Hassanin, he's got him for 18 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and for a guy that, is a later round pick, we all get it. I'm not going to go through all the story, but I think that would be a pretty sound rookie year for him, considering he's more than likely going to be backing up, let's see, Aiden Hutchinson, hopefully Zadarius Smith, Davenport, Alquin Muhammad, amongst other people. So if he's getting out on the field, that's a big sign right there. The coaching staff sees a whole lot with him. You get it. I get it. The kid's got athleticism. He's got it up top mentally. He's got a lot of the plus sides, but like most rookies, it takes time to adjust to the NFL. If he really is getting these type of stats, it means he's on the field probably more often than not in a rotational capacity. It also means probably by his second year in the league, you might be seeing him out there a whole lot more. All right, 7th round pick, safety Dan Action Jackson, 15 tackles, 1 INT. Now, it doesn't say if those tackles are on special teams or in the playing field, so we'll have to wait and see. But, hey, man, if he gets that and a pick, I think you're all loving it. 7th round pick, number 244, Dominic Lovett, 5 catches, 60 yards, 10 special team tackles. You know what? I'd say we'd all consider that a win if he does that his freshman year. All right, going on to the next of the 5 glorious headlines now. Lions veteran now needs a miracle to make the roster post OTAs. Fan side story by Joe Summers. Probably not a big surprise with the story, but you know what? You're looking for stuff to talk about during this stretch of the year. You're going to have some stories like this. And if in case you weren't aware of it, let's talk into it. And that would be Ronnie Bell. And I'm guessing probably a lot of you thought it was going to be Broderick Martin. I'm still hoping Martin can make it. But Bell, it's just, we talked about it during the 5 headlines now. You've got 2 rookies that potentially at the wide receiver spot might make the team. And there ain't no way, shape, or form where Tim Patrick doesn't make the team, Jameson Williams doesn't make the team, or Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't make the team. So right there's 5. And don't forget Khalif Raymond. So there's 6. Is Ronnie Bell going to make the team? I'm not going to spend all day on this one. No, I think most of us, just because of his ties to the state, we're rooting for the guy. But the Lions aren't going to keep 7 wide receivers. Maybe he makes the veteran squad or practice squad, however you want to term it. I don't know. But he's got some nice abilities. He's going to need a miracle, though, to continue his NFL career with the Detroit Lions, at least per this story, and I would say, in my opinion, as well. So if you like the guy, you think he cracks the top 5 or 6 for the Lions, let me know your thoughts in the comments section if you would be so kind. All right, next one. Ben Johnson prediction is good for the Lions, bad for the Bears. The heavy story by Ann Erickson. And I like this story. I'm going to kind of summarize it. I'm not going to go for it word for word, but Annie Erickson breaks it down. In her interpretation of the Chicago Bears head coach, he did a whole lot of things and got a whole lot of praise for the Detroit Lions. But as she kind of Scooby-Dooed it, dived into it, did what good journalists do, she came to the conclusion that Ben Johnson was the byproduct of Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell started this offense. We all get it when he took over with the Detroit Lions. Didn't have much talent anywhere on the team, let alone on the offensive side. Got rid of the OC halfway through the season. started calling plays himself, if you remember, and then elevated Ben Johnson into it. John Morton was there, kind of helped script the new offense or whatever. He's now the Lions offensive coordinator. Also, just keep you on the same page with that. She did a lot of work with Warren Sharp from Sharp Football Analysis and did a poll survey talking to different people within the NFL community. Here's what she came up with in a nutshell. Ben Johnson is getting a whole lot of praise from the national media for things other people did. Included MCDC with it, included John Morton with it. Doesn't mean he didn't learn from it. Doesn't mean he can't apply those metrics he learned in a coaching capacity. But she is raising a lot of red flags that perhaps a lot of the magic between the Detroit Lions offense, Ben Johnson, the players, didn't come from Ben Johnson. It may have come from Dan Campbell and John Morton, amongst others. We'll find out this year, but if this whole holds water, as she's pointing out, it could be very good news for the Detroit Lions in that Ben Johnson may not be the offensive genius we all think or thought or whatever, however you want to term it, he is. Also might mean for Ben Johnson, he might have to figure out some things on his own for the first time in his career, and if he can't hold up to that, Bears are probably going to suffer for it. I'm guessing most Lions fans would be happy with that. All right, which Lions, Detroit Lions, have the biggest impact on the franchise this decade? Question mark. By Rainer Saban of the Detroit Free Press. It's a fair question because in this past decade, we all get it. The vast majority of it, at least the start of it wasn't great, but the last half of it has been very good. So the Lions have had some pretty good players. Let's dive into what he has here in his rankings. He's got a tie for number 5 with Gibbs and Dave Montgomery. In retrospect, as he puts it, these guys are both phenomenal running backs. Does also go on to say Montgomery, how he came in as a veteran, signed with the team, and then just weeks later, he found out that what the heck is going on here? The Lions traded back in the draft to get a running back. And yes, while he was originally alarmed by this, he understands now it probably worked out well for not just the team, but for both himself and Gibbs. They've got a phenomenal friendship, and he thinks that both of them are generational players for the Detroit Lions, especially when you put it in just the past 10 years. These two guys, I think when it's all said and done, are going to have some records for the Lions. Gibbs, he points out, and I doubt if there's anybody there watching this show live or in the future or whenever you watch it, they're going to disagree. Gibbs might end up being one of the top running backs in the NFL, not just currently, not just the past 10 years, but maybe this portion of the century that we've been in. If you think since 2000, can you name 10 running backs that are more impactful on the game than Gibbs? I'm going to have a hard time with that just because he's so athletic, so fast. You know what? He's so powerful. I don't think most people give him enough respect for that, but he can run through some people. He's effective in the passing game. He's effective in the running game. There's not a whole lot he doesn't do. I would say if you had to split hairs between both of them, they both have their strengths. They both have their weaknesses. Montgomery maybe has a little bit more power, maybe a little bit better at pass blocking. But, Gibbs is a little bit better at pass catching and getting out in the open. We get it. They both complement each other very well. Maybe I should just say that. All right, next on this list, edge Aiden Hutchinson. In the past 10 years, yes, he is probably the most dominant edge rusher this team has had by far at this time. Doesn't mean other people won't ascend, but as current right now, since 2022, there ain't been nobody better for the team. I'll even say this. If I had to go back and do just when I started covering the team in the late 80s, early 90s, something like that, it's going to be hard for me to pick 2 or 3 guys better than him. I'm still going to say Robert Porsche, Michael Kofer, when healthy, were just dominant players. And that's no disrespect to Ezekiel Answer or, a couple other guys on the list. But I would say Aiden Hutchinson, if he's not at least in the top 3 in the past 30 years or so, I probably have some questions for the defensive end. Hutchinson, we get it. He can do it all. He can play the pass. He can get to the run. He can, get after quarterbacks. He's just got a motor like few other players. I compare him all the time to Bruce Smith. If you guys remember who he was, the moment the Lions drafted him, I was like, they just got Bruce Smith, 2.0, however you want to term it. And I'll hold water to that or whatever you want to say. All right, number 3 on this list, Penei Sewell. I think he would be a top player in any time, any era in Detroit Lions history, and maybe, to be fair, on any NFL team. But they did break it down. He's one of the greatest Lions of all time on the offensive line. And I'll even take it one step further. I just think he's one of the greatest Lions ever. He's only 24 years old is the incredible thing, but this guy's a monster. He could be an all-pro guard, all-world center, all-world tackle, left or right. Could probably be an all-world tight end, fullback, whatever. I mean, maybe he could play defensive line. I don't know. He's just that rare, that gifted, got the right mentality up top, and he gets after it. Number 2 on his list is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not a whole lot of things to pick apart with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He just does it all, and he does it consistently. Plays hurt, plays healthy, plays in the rain, snow, whatever. It doesn't matter. He produces. And as a coach, you have to love the fact that you can put this guy in any situation, and he's going to find success. There ain't many like him. There never will be. There never have been. And you know what? The fact that he's the Lion, I think we all need to be happy. When it's all said and done, I think it will be a pretty interesting conversation. Where do you rank him in Detroit Lions wide receiver history? Because let's be fair, as you know, up and down as this franchise has been over its lifetime, the Lions have been incredibly blessed with some dang good wide receivers. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, there will be a conversation to be had when it's all said and done for his career. Where do you put him with Calvin, Herman Moore, and, whoever else on the list, Charlie Sanders, even though he was a tight end, he really could receive it and get after it. But you guys get it. At the end of the day, where do you put Amon-Ra St. Brown on the list with all the great Lions receivers out there? It'll be a great conversation to have. All right, number 1 most impactful player in the last decade for this team, Jared Goff. And this is his opinion. It's his story. And I'm not going to fault him for it. Jared Goff, when he got here, you know what? Quarterback position, we can say everything we want about every other position, but if you ain't got one at the NFL level, you ain't got a chance to win. It's that simple. I'd argue even in D1, D2 football in the NCAA level, if you don't have a quarterback, your team ain't winning because you've got to be able to move the ball and put points up. Jared Goff was left for dead by the Rams. We all know the story. The first game, he was a Detroit Lion. He had a huge rally against the 49ers to nearly win the game. I mean, they literally went down the field in the last minute or so of the game and had an opportunity to erase it. I think it was a 21-point deficit in the fourth quarter to nearly win. And there's still everybody in Ford Field rooting against this guy, calling him a terrible, this, that, anything, move on from him. I would love to take all that crowd at Ford Field from that game and put them in today's room, see what they have to say, see if they regret some of those thoughts. Whatever it is, he's overcome a whole lot of adversity to take the Detroit Lions to be one of the NFL's greatest teams. Good for him. Good for him for growing up, getting a little bit more mentally tough, because I do think when he was in the Rams, he wasn't that mentally tough. With that being said, he was also a 20-year-old to 23-year-old kid. He's probably grown up a whole lot. He's married now. He loves Detroit. He loves the Lions. And you know what? This guy might just end up taking us to a Super Bowl winning it. I think he's going to do it sooner versus later. All right, with that done, one more to go. Question for you guys. Are Detroit Lions or Detroit Tigers closer to the championship? Question mark. Detroit News story by Vito Sharito with this one. Vito's got a good question. And while we don't normally talk about the Detroit Tigers on this show, let's also be fair. What you're seeing out of them is a pretty dang good year. They might be the best team in their division, and I don't think it's much of a question with it. But 4 years ago, we would have been talking about the Lions, the Tigers, heck, the Pistons, the Red Wings, all of them being near the bottom of their respective sports, their divisions, whatever metric you want to throw out there with it. That's not the case anymore. Both of these two teams are heavyweights in their respective sports. Who do you think, in your opinion, is closer to it? Now, I'm not gonna read through the article. You want to check it out, go for it. But I think it's a fair question to ask, because I think they both have an outstanding opportunity ahead of them to go out and win a world championship, whether you want to call it a Super Bowl, world championship, whatever. That's up to you guys. All right, all that done, set out of the way. Let's get the show on over to, going to have a little fun with this one, the main topic of the day. Main topic of the day. If you are my age, maybe a little bit older, a little bit younger, whatever, you know exactly who EA Sports is, whatever you want to say. Because if it's in the game, it's in the game. If you'd have to go back to really the mid 80s, maybe early 80s, to not live in a world where EA Sports, John Madden football exists. And while most of us probably just understand it's a video game, I'm also going to be fair and let you know it is a billion-dollar business, that video game. And they spend so much time on trying to get the metrics right, not just for the teams, but for the players. I mentioned this briefly in the start of the show. If you don't know who Donnie Moore is, he is the Caesar, or what do you want to say, or was the Caesar of Madden Sports, the rankings. And they would typically employ anywhere from 10 to 30 scouts to come in and give their thoughts on what do we need to do to adjust this person, that person in the rankings for each team. It's no small task, and they employ a lot of people whose full-time job is to review each team, every free agent signing, and then adjust that on a week-to-week basis by how that team and player does. So, main topic, you tell from the thumbnail, Lions got pretty disrespected, and I had probably about I'd say 30 to 40 of you guys messaged me about this, saying, what are your thoughts on this? So I was like, you know what? Let's make it the main topic for tomorrow, because I get this won't be for everybody. But if I was to ask you right now, let's just start with this. If I gave you these three teams, who's the better of those three teams? The San Francisco 49ers, the Detroit Lions, or the Dallas Cowboys? I'm going to count to 10 and throw your answers in the comment section. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're not going to spend all day on this. They actually have us all three teams at the same overall rating. Now, I at least could say with the 49ers, I can somewhat see that. They do have some pretty good talent. Last year, they were incredibly beat up. We get it. They were like us. The only difference between us and them, in my opinion, is our coaching staff, our players, found ways to win games. There are going to be a lot of people say last year was a disappointing season, yada, yada. We didn't win the Super Bowl. We didn't win the playoffs. But you know what? Just in hindsight, looking, and I can only give you my opinion. You can have your own opinion. It doesn't have to be mine. What they pulled off last year, going 15-2 with all those injuries, you could have just as easily been the 49ers and whatever they finished, 6 wins or whatever. So EA Sports, they don't look at the records. They don't look at this, that, and the other thing. They just want to grade each player, and then how does that team overall reflect? So in the Madden 26 beta release, and again, I couldn't share these graphics. The media has been disabled in response to a report by the copyright owner. So I can put it up there, but I already know what YouTube's going to say at that point. So we're going to leave that alone. So, and then I thought the big alarming one, it sounds like this is what upset a lot of you guys, is the Dallas Cowboys, who were not a very good team last year, even if they were healthy. They had the same overall rating as the Lions. I have a problem with it just for this simple thing. In 2000, whatever it was, 12, 13, and 14, I helped out with ratings there, adjusting and stuff. And let me tell you, you spend a lot of time on that jazz. You try to curtail every player and make it as accurate as possible, because if not, you got some bonehead on YouTube talking about how you're messing things up. In my personal opinion, the Lions are one of the top 3, maybe you could say 4 teams in the NFL. I do not think the Dallas Cowboys are a top 3 or 4 team in the league. I don't even know if they're a top 15 team. They're going to have to prove me wrong. I would probably put them around number 18 to 24, somewhere in that range. Some players play better. You know what? Then maybe they can crack the top 15. 49ers already talked about it. I think it's fair to say they couldn't be, when fully healthy, close, although I would give their coaching staff a whole lot of shame or lower grades, or however you want to put it, because they simply could not win games while injured. Here's my thing. You're getting into the season where in the next 4 weeks, this stuff is going to come out a lot. You're going to get the fully digested, fully revealed player rankings for all the teams, all 32 teams across the NFL. And, I'm not going to go through all of Twitter and, the other social media contents, but you can see it's already catching fire across the Twitterverse, or whatever you want to word it as. There are a whole lot of people upset about this. And to be fair, if you don't know anything about this is not unnormal for people to say, hey, my guy, and I'm just going to make something up. If you don't know, the players are rated 0 to 99, 99 being basically a perfect player or team. And people always are upset about the ratings, but trying to be as fair as I can, the Dallas Cowboys should not be rated one of the top 5 teams in the league. The Detroit Lions should be one of them, and I do think the Lions kind of got a little bit jobbed by this. I'll also throw out there, I think Jared Goff regularly gets jobbed by EA Sports because they basically view him as a journeyman quarterback. He's, probably bottom 10 to maybe bottom 12 across the board in their opinion. I don't have that opinion. I haven't worked for them or helped or assisted or however you want to term it in like 10 years. My personal opinion, Goff's strengths are sort of like Tom Brady's strengths. It's the fact that he can read everything. Yes, neither one of them are very athletic. Yes, neither one of them, they don't wow you with anything they do on the field. They just make the right read and right choice over and over and over again. And as a veteran player, let alone a quarterback, that becomes an incredibly dangerous skill set because it's just hard to to rattle the person. I'm going to use a basketball analogy here real quick. Like the team I coach, we do a lot of blitzing and stuff in basketball, and I get that won't make sense to a lot of people, but we do it a ton. And if you've got a couple really good, ball handlers, you can cause us problems. If you don't, though, we're probably eating you alive. The same is true with Jared Goff. It's hard to blitz him a ton, and you saw this with the Minnesota Vikings amongst a gajillion other teams, because as soon as he can read it, he can get rid of it and make the right read. When you blitz, you do leave things open. All right, I probably talked about this too long. I kind of have a personal thing with it. Well, I know a lot of you guys will too, and then when the full rankings come out in about 3 weeks, then probably more people have issues with it. But let's get on over real quick to the Duke Crew comment section. We have a special guest for you guys here in about 3 minutes. So let me get through as many of the comments as I can before we get our special guest of the day on. All right, JDC, morning all. Back at you. Silver Server, good morning, Coach and everyone. And same to you. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. Big names make for big targets. Ooh, exclamation point. Woo, I like that one, Bo. That's a good one. Detroit D, good morning, Duke Crew. And as always, great to see you, my friend. Just say K. Hey, so what did Davenport mess up today? Well, we will find out. All will be revealed, right? Jess, greetings, salutations. So I'm assuming, yep, you got it, man. EA Sports, question mark. If so, I read that yesterday. How can you say we're in the same level as the Cowboys? Yeah, shake my head. 100%, my friend. Lions for Life, good morning, everyone. Can't wait until the season starts. Coach Dan, what is your prediction for the Lions this season? How far will they go in your opinion? So right now, I'm going to stick to what I've had, I guess you could say all off season. I think we're about an 11 to 13 win team, somewhere in that range. You probably 13's the high. A lot of things go your way. 11's going to be the low. I do think we're the most talented Lions team, as far as player 1 through 53 that I'll ever see. And I've covered them, as you guys know, since the late 80s, early 90s for multiple different publications and whatever. I just think there's really no hole on this team, and that's going to be a big plus. If those rookies really develop and make a big leap forward, then, man, this team could be crazy good. As far as prediction, I think we're going to win the North. I think we are going to make the Super Bowl this year. Robert, greetings all. The Lions are swell. I'm down with that. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan, the Duke Crew. What a team. What a podcast. What a time. Be a Lions fan. Woo! Good to see you, Henry. As always, my friend. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. I hope everyone comes at us. Give our coaches and players more fuel for the fires. 100% right with that. I agree with that 1,000%. Henry, so now, quote, the big boys, end quote, now want a piece of the Lions. Who could figure? Yeah, and again, you got to go with your opinions. If you are EA Sports, I get it. You're going to put a ranking out on every team that somebody doesn't like. But to have those teams at the same level as the Lions, it is what it is. Eddie, greetings, salutations, Duke Crew, Lions for Life. I'm sticking to 11 to 12 wins. Yeah, I'm down with you there. Just think we have some motivation this year based upon last year's exit. I agree with that 1,000%. Till the Hunt, I am so thrilled to hear that publications and other teams disrespect the Lions, then play us so much better with a chip on our shoulder, playing into MCDC's hands. Yeah, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's talked about it this offseason, how the exit last year didn't sit well. You've had former Lions talk about it. I think you've just got a real good buzzsaw, and we've got 4 preseason games to get things ready. I really hope the coaching staff takes advantage of it. Of the 4 preseason games. Silver Coach, I think Lions better team than last year. Many players haven't come back, but some did. Rookies look promising. I agree with that. But I really love the fact that this is a young team that has grown together. They have, man. They've got some kumbaya going on for sure. Clark Griswold, yo, exclamation point. I'm ready for the season. I'm ready for Smith to resign, and I'm ready to see which rookie can make an impact. Give me one, Coach. Woo! You know what? I'll give you a quick one. How about that? Because we got to get over to the special guest of the day. 1, 2, 3. And there you go. Hookadoo. I agree with Stephanie. This kind of stuff is just going to have our boys want to get out there and kick some booty. Yeah, I'm down with that. Till then, 11 wins before with the disrespect could be 13 and 14 now. Don't wake a lion. No, leave sleeping lions laying around, I guess. Maybe that's where we'll go with that. Fran, Silver Server, I agree with you. In my opinion, we are deeper and simply better everywhere on this team. Ahmad Hassanin, I really think it could surprise. Yeah, I think him and Tesla are probably the biggest, upside rookies on the team. Maybe somebody else does. We'll have to wait and find out. All right, it is that time to bring forth the man, the myth, the legend. Hey, it's been a hot second since he's been on the show, so make sure you all give a warm welcome to Johnny Gaz from Johnny Gaz Sports. I want to say congratulations to you, Johnny. I heard they were retiring your jersey at Ford Field, and the commencement ceremony will be the season opener at Ford Field. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Yes. Actually, no, they decided they're going to put up my boot. They're going to retire my boot. They're going to hang it in the rafters. And Dan, I appreciate you having me back on, buddy. A couple of weeks ago, I tore my Achilles pitching to my son's baseball team, and I had surgery and a whole bunch of other stuff. So like life has just taken me in 50 million directions here in the last month or so. And I apologize, but so and everybody in the Duke crew knows, every morning when I was feeling up to it and I wasn't buzzed out of my mind on painkillers, I was watching Lions Talk Live. So thank you for having me back on, buddy.
So what the heck? Let me get this right. Well, hold on a second. We've got some news here. So I want to make sure I give it the appropriate news. Johnny Gaz is on the IR, folks. Hey, he's powering through though to be here this morning. So what the heck happened? You're pitching to your son and tore your Achilles?
Yeah, man. I saw it's really goofy. I wish I had a more awesome story. Like I was saving, kids out of a burning house or something, but I don't. I took a step back with my right foot and my heel went in where the pitcher's deck is, the pitcher's mound plate. And then there's that little divot in between, right, where the pitcher's standing. Well, I put my heel perfectly back in that divot, step back hard, try to step forward. And dude, you can audibly hear your Achilles snap. Like it is the scariest sound, more than the pain itself. You just hear like and you're like, oh, that ain't right. And I just immediately fell to the ground. The worst part was these older coaches come and are like carrying me off. I just go blackout. I pass out. We got 8 and 9-year-olds on the field crying their eyes out, thinking their dad's about to, horrible things happening on the field. It wasn't serious. It's a leg. It's going to heal. You know what I mean? So it's nothing big, but it's just one of those goofy occurrences,
So, I'm going to give a PTA public announcement here. You might want to, if you're a parent, avoid baseball or softball, because your story makes me think of, I want to say my sister Jackie was 14 or 15. She played softball, and they had a parents versus, kids game, to start the year or whatever, just to get things going. It was like the third or fourth hitter of the day. It was my sister Jackie. She pops one up, goes to right field. Who, of all people, it's my mom going to catch. My mom misses it, breaks her nose.
Oh, jeez.
All right. It is what it is. So, all right, let's get over to the Lions here real quick. Hey, you get headlines like this. We'll dive into the main topic here because I'm assuming but maybe let me ask, EA Sports Madden football?
Absolutely. I was a diehard when I was in college, and then I'd say the last couple of years I've sort of faded off of it. But I'm very in tune to what the ratings are right now. I have them pulled up right in front of me, and buddy, I feel the same way you do. The nice thing is I know that the Lions probably could care less and don't even look at this. So then that's the excellent part. But to have, I think 5 teams ahead of the Lions in the rankings is what I'm seeing. Doesn't make any sense to me.
So let me ask you just because you've grown up with it, you played it. How much do you think the players pay attention to this?
Outwardly, they'd say they don't. Inwardly, they absolutely do. I know, and I've had conversations with a couple lower level players that's all they would think about before the year started is where are they going to put me? I'm a depth player, but I want to know what my ranking is. I do think they care a little bit. I'm not saying that affects their daily routine or their workouts or what they're doing in OTAs or whatever, but believe me, a lot of these guys are tied into that, and they will feel disrespected if their rating isn't where they think it should be.
So when you look at the Lions, let's start off with this, the Lions rookie class. What are your thoughts on each of the players we selected, and what kind of expectations do you have for them?
Well, I guess starting at the top with Tyleek. That pick to me has been lambasted so many ways. And I think the bottom line is, and we heard this from the organization, is I think they tried to make a move for an edge and it didn't work out. And then they decided they're going to take the best player on their board at 28 and they picked Tyleek Williams. And I'm happy with that because the player at Ohio State was asked to do a very limited amount of work based on what I think his skill set is. He was asked to eat up space at Ohio State and really wasn't asked to get after the quarterback. But he has a lot more athleticism than I think people lead on. If you watch his tape at Ohio State, again, I think he has more explosiveness than people will give him credit for. But to put him next to Aiden Hutchinson and think that at the very least he's going to eat up 2 defenders will give Aiden Hutchinson the space he needs to operate. So that's why I'm most excited for him. And I know Davenport's not a rookie, but I've made a point that I think Davenport is the quiet X factor this season. So I won't say anything more than that, but I think they're going to get enough production on the other side where they're not worried about the edge. So that's why I think Tyleek makes a lot of sense in the middle. Moving back in the draft, going to Tate Ratledge. I think that could be their best pick when all said and done, because ultimately with the loss of Frank, they have a hole at center. They have a hole in their interior. I think Mahogany's slated for one guard position, but that leaves center and guard open to either Ratledge, Frazier, Glasgow, or any of the depth pieces that we have. But to me, Ratledge is that factor on the line that makes this thing move forward. If he can settle into center, if he can learn the scheme and the calls and the shifts as far as protections go, he's going to be the guy. I think that's what they want to do as far as a youth movement. If not, then I think Glasgow takes center and then takes your starting guard until that transition takes place. So again, either way, he's such a huge piece to the Lions, especially early on, because they have to ensure this interior O-line is settled. Otherwise, Jared Goff isn't as an effective quarterback. So that's why Tate Ratledge to me is maybe their most important pick here from this last season. Now, not diving in each individual one, the one I want to hit on here also is Hassanin. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Ahmad Hassanin is the rookie of the year, or he's going to come out and get double-digit sacks. But what I think he will give you is he'll push all of the guys around him to be better. Like Marcus Davenport, Josh Pascal, Mekhi Wingo, everybody that's in front of him will feel the pressure, because that kid will compete until he doesn't get the job. So he's either good enough to where I think he's going to motor himself into it, or he's going to motor everybody around him to be better. And I think it creates a better defensive edge room, which solves the problem I think a lot of people wanted to solve this offseason. No, they didn't get Myles Garrett. No, they didn't go get Trey Hendrickson. But they have a ton of pieces on the other side, plus what they've done in the interior. I just think that they've solved their problem, but that'll be seen here early on in the season. Past that, I mean, I think you have guys that you mentioned him early in the show here. Dan, the extra safety they picked up, and then the Lovett, the wide receiver. I mean, these guys are going to be competing for roles in special teams. I don't think either one of them are, thinking I'm starting anywhere, but they will push everybody on the special teams. They'll compete. And that's where I really think those kind of things benefit. And that's the beauty of Brad Holmes, is I think he's not only thinking about, starting pieces up front, but how do we fill in the depth? How do we make special teams a strength of this team? And that's where I think that, again, he had another amazing 2026 draft. Okay.
And I think you're probably spot on with that. Let's talk about the salary cap for this year and next year, because I think we're all aware, if not, I guess we'll bring you up to speed. Lions are projected to be somewhere around $50 million over the cap next year. Now, there are reports emerging that because of new subscription services, yada, yada, and a gajillion other things, Lions and every other NFL team may get a massive cap bonus next year or push up. Lions are also sitting currently on about $40 million. Now, we can roll the vast majority of that into next year, which would more or less offset next year's cap. So let me ask you, do you think every Lions fan loves it when we talk about Lions are going to trade for this player, sign that guy? How many moves do you really think the Lions make this year, or do you think they try to keep all that cap to apply it next year?
I'm going to break some hearts here, I think, Dan. I think this right now is them planning for the Aiden Hutchinson contract. And to me, it's my opinion, but I think everything that they are doing right now is to make sure that this mega deal that they know they're going to have to pay, the money's there, the structure's there. And then I think after that, things will start to go into motion. Because they don't know exactly what the number is going to be. And in my mind, in my opinion, they haven't pulled the trigger yet on that. It's just my opinion. They want to see him just a little bit more. They need to know that when the pads go on, contact starts to happen, that he's the exact same player. And I expect that to be the case, and I think that will hold true. But I just think the Lions are playing this a little bit more to the vest, trying to be smart with this. And if they're going to make him the highest paid NFL player of all time at that point, they need to be sure that they know what that dollar amount is. So, no, to answer your question, I don't think they're making any other moves. There could be a small midseason addition if they need to add a player, if some injuries pop up in a certain position group, but I don't think it's going to be a splash. And certainly it's not going to be an edge or a defensive player that people are wanting.
So you talk about Aiden Hutchinson. I think we're looking at potentially the first $40 million a year non-quarterback in the NFL. And that's crazy to me, but it is where things are going. Let's also talk about the other first-round pick from that year's draft, and that's going to be Jameson Williams. We get it. Amon-Ra St. Brown's getting paid. A whole lot of people on this team are getting paid. JMO has growing expectations from everybody in national media, let alone this coaching staff. It would appear, if you take Dan Campbell at his word, let alone Detroit-based media. If this kid really comes out and has a, 1,300, 1,500 yard season and, a gajillion touchdowns, what do the Lions do there? Do they keep him, pay him like a number one wide receiver?
Yeah, to me, that might be one of the biggest questions we have coming up, because we know we're paying some of the other guys, but wide receivers, that position where if there's a position group on the NFL football field that you might be able to find second, third, fourth wide receivers, they are available. And again, nobody's going to be Jameson Williams. I'm not comparing a depth piece to the speed and the dynamic that you're going to get out of JMO. But again, sometimes it's dollars and cents. But we do know the Lions will do everything they can to keep their homegrown players. And truthfully, if I'm answering your question the way I think they'll play this out, if he produces the way they think he's going to produce, they'll find a way to pay him. I feel that's the case. I think they can restructure a couple other contracts as we move forward that will make that dollar amount not seem as such a hit. But that also depends on how productive he is. Because again, Dan, if you laid it out, if he comes out and is an all-pro type receiver, that dollar amount gets to a point where it is almost insurmountable. If you're talking about paying Aiden and all the other homegrown talent you have to pay, Brian Branch is still in the mix. I mean, we got a lot of guys we got to think about. So I'd still say JMO is a question as far as can he be expendable, but that will depend on his production this year. So if he's exactly what they say he's going to be this year, they'll pay him. If he busts or if he has another off the field mistake, then I think we're talking the opposite way. But right now, and I'm not saying that's the case, I think he's kind of turned a leaf that way. And if he heads that, then I think they will find a way to re-sign him.
We mentioned it a little bit earlier in the 5 headlines now, just to get your thoughts on it. I don't remember the writer offhand, but it was in the 5 headlines now. Somebody wanted to go through the all decade. Who is the most important Lions to impact the team this past decade? Jared Goff, I get there's some fans that really like him being the Lions quarterback. There's some fans that don't so much. And, I'm not here to say which side of it you're on, but when you look at this guy, what are your thoughts since he's been a Detroit Lion? Has he improved, regressed? Should the team stick with him? What are your honest opinions overall as a quarterback?
Yeah, I'm a Goff guy. I've been a Goff guy. When he first made the trade, it was questionable in the sense of, okay, is this really a bridge guy because of the issues he had with McVay and LA and the Super Bowl performance? So I questioned it, but I think now over the past 3-4 years, you've seen him get so much more efficient in the way he handles himself. And that's a big product of what the Lions have put around him. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he has increased his talent level, let's say, but I think the talent around him has gotten so much better that in turn it's made him a better quarterback. So I think he's a huge product of a system in a sense that the Lions have really made it easy for him to produce. But at the same time, I think mentally his game has gotten so much better than it was when he was with the Rams in the Super Bowl compared to now. I mean, this is a different heady guy, not physically, but mentally. So that's where I think he's really taken the next step. And that's where I think he still is the guy to take this team to a Super Bowl and win one for him. And the question I always ask people on the other side is, who are you bringing? Who's the guy then if it's not Jared Goff? You're not trading for Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's not available to you. So Jared Goff is potentially the most efficient quarterback when people are healthy around him. So that to me is the biggest factor. So again, going back to your direct question, Dan, I'm not moving on from Goff until he physically can't do it anymore. Or if something weird happens in a draft where the top quarterback in the system just plops in your hand and you can take him, fine. But I don't think that's going to be the case based on where we're going to be drafting now for the next 10 years. So I think you ride the guy that has been with you. I just think, again, the talent around him will speak volumes to what they do this year. And if they can square up the interior of the offensive line, I think everything moves forward in the right direction. So I'm a Goff supporter in that sense.
Yeah, and I get everybody wants, a mobile quarterback, a guy that can, just get out and run, extend plays. That's never really been Goff. The only thing I can say is over all the decades I've covered the NFL or other, football leagues, teams, etc., most of the mobile quarterbacks have a hard time staying relevant in the league more than a few years. It's just, and I'll use Fields as an example. I thought the Chicago Bears did him dirty. I thought they could have developed him and he could have been something. That being it is, teams, since they don't have an invested interest in him long-term, they didn't draft him, they just spend less time developing him. I think a lot of times I can only think of really two exceptions to the mobile quarterback who couldn't pass a ton or read defenses where they stick around and make it, and that's Randall Cunningham. I think he was a mobile quarterback, but he also developed into being a damn good quarterback who could pass and pick you apart. And then Steve Young. I thought Young could get by with his legs, and then later on, once he sat on the bench behind Montana for a while, he became a very, very deadly quarterback. But that being said, Goff's downside is, I think, to the people that don't like him, he can't run. So it is what it is. All right. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out? Tell us all about your great work, where to support you, come find you, hit the subscribe, the like, all that stuff to show you some love.
I appreciate you, Dan. Again, thank you for having me on this morning. Thank you, Duke Crew. You guys are the best. You can find me at Johnny Gaz Sports, really at any social network you could find. I pretty much come out with content every single day. Lately, we've been working on bold predictions for the Lions. We've also flipped it and gone reasons why the Lions won't win the Super Bowl. So we're trying to give you both sides of the coin and not be Mr. Positive Lions fan all the time. But more than anything, I just like to have fun. I do try to stay on the positive train. And ultimately, we're living through the best era of Lions football. So I'm just here to support that and give you guys as fans the best perspective on it, just like Dan does here every single morning. So I appreciate you, Dan. Thank you.
One last question for you. Way too early prediction for you. Lions, where do you think their record ends up being for the regular season? What do you think they do in the postseason if you have them making it to the postseason?
Good question. So I initially, when I got the schedule, and this was before the Ragnow departure, I had them at 13 wins, which, I kind of seemed a little high, but I when I counted and looked at the schedule, I had 13. Frank Ragnow then retires, and now we're looking at the interior. So I did remove a game from that. I have them more in the 12-game victory, but it's only because of the depth of the schedule. And that doesn't mean they're a worse team. It just means I think early on, they're going to have to figure out the interior of the line. That's going to affect some of their play in the first few weeks, but I think they figure it out. I do think they make the playoffs. I don't think they're a number one seed this year. I think still that's probably Eagle territory again. But I think that when the season gets to the point where we're entering the playoffs, hopefully Lee McNeil's in the mix, hopefully the health factor's there. If that's the case, Dan, I'm not going to sit here and predict a Super Bowl victory. I just think that's going way too far. But they have put themselves in a position where this might be the year to give themselves the best shot. Some people say 23 was it just because of where they put themselves. But truthfully, I think the roster's better now than it was then. So if that's the case, and I'm just looking at the season projecting forward, I think this is their best shot.
All right. He is Johnny Gaz. He's from Johnny Gaz Sports. He's deadly on the mound. Let me tell you, he can rifle that ball, and hopefully you heal up well, my friend.
I hold the Bantam League record for strikeouts against my own team. So, yes, very proud of that. Very proud.
Rock on, man. Rock on. All right, my friend. Go enjoy your day. Thanks for making a little time for the Duke Crew and coming on over.
Appreciate you, buddy. Have a good day.
You too, man. We'll see you, Johnny.
Yeah,
all right, we got a couple minutes left here. Let's get through a few more in the comments section. Miles Marker laughing out loud, Bo. Winter sports, huh? And we'll see. James, I think Lovett makes the team as well as the running back from Ohio U. Okay, we'll check that. Coach Rock, I coach my granddaughter's 8-year-old softball team and pitch to them in practice, and now I'm a little leery of that, laughing out loud. Ouch. Have you seen the results of a popped Achilles tendon and not fun at all? No, I've seen it happen. There was one time I thought I did it to myself, but thankfully it didn't happen. And I just hope Johnny heals up well. It is a process healing from that without a question. Trim Reaver, good morning, Mr. Hassanin. Good morning indeed. Leonard, greetings, salutations, Coach Dan Duke Crew. Let's go Lions! Exclamation point. Back at you, my friend. Good to see you, man. It feels like it's been a hot second. James, not sure about Bell, but I'm rooting for him. Yeah, that's the tough part, isn't it? We're all going to be rooting for all these players. I mean, there's 91 players, 92 players, whatever it is right now. We're going to be rooting for them all play at their best because that makes the team better. But only 53 of them are going to be able to wear official Lions jerseys for the games, etc. And then, yes, there'll be the veteran squad. Now, if Ahmed Hassani can push others to be better, then that is a good rookie year on 1,000%. I agree with that. The biggest thing, I know we've beat it to death this offseason. I just think there's going to be so much competition, not just to make the team, but then to maintain your spot on the team. That every day in practice, you got a dude like that coming at you along with some of these other guys. Everybody's going to get better because iron sharpens iron. What are you going to say? Put pressure on coal. Either you get dust or you get a diamond. See, Silver Server, good point on Med Hassanin, Johnny Gas, 1,000%. Kevin, good morning, all. I agree with you on Davenport, Johnny. I think we get 15 games out of him this year, and he'll have at least 8 sacks. Yeah, he's the big unknown, and I get all the jokes about him or whatever, but he's the big unknown. When he's healthy, he's pretty good. He's just got to be healthy. Coach Rock, Mausberger, it is numbing pretty good around here, and the TV dish isn't working because of the storm clouds. Glad you're not an important game on. Yeah, there's not an important game on. And yeah, Phil, I saw your comments when talking to Johnny. Hopefully you and others up your way are A-OK. Leonard, good morning, Mr. H. JDC, Puff, woo, coffee, and Lions Talk Live. Hookadoo. I knew that from the phone call on draft day. Ahmed Hassanin was going to be a very big plus for Lions. Yeah, you could totally see why you would want to invest in this guy and bring him on. He's got everything you could want. He is a mold of clay, willing to be coached. You know, I just don't see a downside. You just got to coach him up now. Lauren, yes, sir. JBC, JDC, beep, beep says Hookadoo. JK, I still believe Brad will get 2 needed pieces. All right. Who do you got for us who do you have us getting there, JK? Let's see, Milesberger, beep, beep. Yes, the JK, meet me. All right. We'll go with all that. You're talking about the Roadrunner here. JDC, honk, honk. Toot, toot. Lauren, beep, beep. All right. Roadrunner. Yes, it is. James, quack, quack, Hookadoo. I agree. When they first made the trade, I was like, what the heck? That quickly changed. Goff is the man. Yeah, and again, I get why fans would have had a lot of, when he first became a Lion, had a lot of trepidation for him. He was coming off a very year with the Rams. You had the media jumping on him, beating him down. Oh, he was only good because of McVay. And we've obviously know now it's not just McVay that made him good. Now you got people saying, well, he can only play for McVay and Ben Johnson. Well, really, those are the only OCs he's had. If he has another great year, well, then he can only play for John Morton, Ben Johnson, and McVay. So, you get it. At some point, you got to give the athlete some credit for what they've done. I know we talked about it a little bit. With the Rams, he was like 20 to 24 years old. That's a pretty young person, even as an athlete at the NFL level. And sometimes in the NFL or the NBA or NHL, you're so quick to pass judgment on the athlete, you move on from them, and there's still a kid developing. I know I talk about it a lot. Warren Moon, I want to say he was like 28 when he really started in the NFL. Kurt Warner, and you get a lot of different quarterbacks. They didn't find success until later in their 20s. I guess you could throw Steve Young in there, and there's probably other ones I'm not considering. Miles Mark, you got great content. Johnny, Johnny, like all the people in the YouTube fan base, and I know there's so many of them, I can't mention them all, but the Lions really are very lucky to have a ton of very good YouTube content. I mean, Derek, I think, does great work. Micro Mike, without question. I mean, you guys get it. There's just a ton of them. Kurt Steele, we have him on here. Anthony, Roar Lions UK. There's probably other ones I haven't even found yet. There's also a bunch of them I've reached out to see if they want to come on the show. And just unfortunately, because the time of day doesn't work out for their schedules. JK, Jared Goff Sports, I'm down with that. Lauren, I'll have fine. Johnny, all right. Benjamin, as a fan of the Lions since 53, I could hardly be excited as to what EA Sports says. It is truly a slow week, and I know a gazillion people waste their money for those games, i.e. my grandsons. Yeah, and me, myself, and I'm closing on 53. I grew up with them, so it has meaning probably to people my age or younger, because you do grow up for it. There's a lot of validity or lack of validity sometimes in what your team, how it's represented in the game, and the players. I know when I would interview players, probably by the mid-90s, maybe late 90s, you could see they paid attention to that stuff because, again, they grew up playing those games, watching it, etc. JDC, thanks, Johnny. Crazy legs of gas. Yeah, maybe one leg only right now. Trim Reaper laughing. Lauren laughing. Trim Reaper later. Johnny Gas, get healthy, bro. 100%. Miles Meyer laughing. Benjamin Brewer. Leonard, I ride and died with Goff. Top 7 or 8 quarterback. Great show again, coach. And thanks. Hey, no worries, man. Try and find stuff for you guys to listen to and talk about. We've got about another 3 weeks of probably a little bit slower times ahead of us before things really start picking up. JK, I'm out. We'll see you next time. Trim Reaper, yet. All right, go find a Yeti, my friend. Courtney, all I am going to say is Goff went to Cal Berkeley. That's Cal Berkeley. All right, smart. I'm down with that. Yes, and I know he almost signed with UCLA back in the day. Thankfully, didn't. As a USC fan, I was happy that didn't happen. Miles Margaret, me too, Leonard. Johnny Gas Sports, appreciate you all. Yeah, everybody show Johnny a little love there. Let's see. Apparently, hey, I can totally say it, Johnny. I don't know if you'll get it. Sweep the leg, Johnny. Just not your own leg. Lauren, I'm going to sub now, Johnny. There you go. Thank you, says Johnny Gas. Miles Margaret, he is smart for sure, Courtney. All right. Lauren, my channel is Michigan Panther Pride. Yeah, another person puts out great content. Go support Michigan Panther Pride and Lauren, if you would, please. See, Michigan Panther Pride had to switch accounts for you. There you go. Johnny Gas, I got you, Lauren. Michigan Panther Pride, thanks, Johnny. Coach Rock, best part about the defensive end is Hutch likes the left side, and most of them like the right side, so it makes a better O-line, or D-line, excuse me. Yes, I agree with you. Kerry, waiting for game 2. Can't wait to shut up Dick Asfuria, Gutsky, Broski, the rest of the alum. The Bears will have a hard time lifting the toilet seat. I am not a Ben Over fan either. Yes, and to be honest, Broski and all of them, I'm pretty sure they're the same person. Jeremy, be careful out there, Johnny. Yes, don't hop around. Miles, I didn't know that about the edge preferences. Yeah, they do normally play Hutchinson on, I guess you say, the side that most people don't want to go to. Trim Reaper, for all of us here at Lions Talk Live, have a great day and stay classy, Duke Crew, exclamation point, woo, and back at you, JDC. It's a jungle out here, no lying about that. Ooh, I see what you did there. Brent, skip the Bears, exclamation point, basement dwellers, let's keep them there. Bo, I'm just lying around till the storm front passes. Hopefully it doesn't hit you guys too bad. Hookadoo, that's hitting the nail on the head, Brent. All right, and good morning. Brent, lying around. I knew we were going with that. Or at least I had a pretty good idea. Ted, when Gurley started to slow down, the Rams wasn't the same, and Goff had hurt his thumb. It all started to get bad for him at that point. Yeah, you're 100% right, Ted. And not to bring up the Super Bowl he lost, but he did miss, if I remember correctly, he did miss 2 touchdown passes that would have won the game. He also had 2 drop touchdown passes that would have won the game. Gurley, yeah, got hurt. That really impacted their offense. A young quarterback typically needs a running game. You took that away from him. Let's also be fair. You went up against Bill Belichick, one of the greatest defensive minds in the history of the game. You went up against, the New England Patriots, who we all know for 20 years were a dynasty. It just, a lot of things went against them, and I think he became the scapegoat. You could have probably blamed a lot of people for the scapegoat, but, the quarterback is going to get more blame for sure. Johnny Gaz, nice Karate Kid reference. There you go, JDC. Coach, you could do a show about how badly the Bears are going to be. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll take some shots at the Bears. I'm down with them. Johnny Gaz, do you put any credence into the Aaron Glenn getting competed with the media already before the season starts? It is what it is. Some coaches will rub the media the wrong way. The media will rub you the wrong way. The only thing I can say is they are going to come after you. If you do not win, everybody will be your enemy, especially in New York, of all places. Just in places I've coached. I can remember one reporter, this is why I coached the pro team in Grand Rapids. We lost a game. We're an expansion team. And we lost one game, and the reporter got all over me. I was like, dude, most of these people don't even know each other's names yet. It was like the first game of the year. Maybe it was the second game of the year. I was like, we don't even know each other. I don't even know half these people. They're all learning the systems. When you do an expansion, I mean, it's you're building everything from the ground up. And yeah, they got all over me, and I just laughed at the dude. I was like, hey, how about this? Give us another 5 days. That's when our next game is. Let's see, Michigan Panther Pride later, everyone. Hope to catch the show tomorrow. We'll look for you then, my friend. JDC, happy trails. Go Lions victory. Have a great one. Bo, happy trails, Dude Crew. All done and dusted for another day. See you tomorrow. We'll see you then. Miles Marker, Lions, one pride. And there you go. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to go have a delicious morning Mountain Dew and then get my work day going, hit the gym, all that kind of stuff. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, be a good human being. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. If you would be so kind, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. We'll check you guys all on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all.
Excuse me, sir, would you...
Donations to Reverend Moon.
Juice for Jesus?
Read about Jehovah's Witness. How about Buddhism?
I'm Jerry's kids.
Oh, yeah.
Scientology.
Or nuclear power.